I want you to picture a 5-year-old child walking completely alone down a street toward a local shop.
Which is already a pretty stressful image for a lot of people today.
Oh, for sure. I mean, picture this kid, right? In their hand, they're clutching a piece of paper. And wrapped tightly inside that paper is like a bit of money for an errand they're running.
Yeah.
Now, if you are like most modern people listening to this, your heart might have just skipped a beat. You're probably thinking about traffic or, strangers.
Or just a dozen other potential hazards, yeah.
Exactly. But in the world we are looking at today, this specific route is entirely safe.
Right.
And it is safe because the adults along that road, like the neighbors sweeping their porches, the shopkeepers arranging their displays, they are all actively watching.
Mm-hmm.
They are there to guide and to correct and, to teach that child along the way.
What's fascinating here is how it immediately sets a tone that totally clashes with how we navigate our modern, highly isolated environment.
Right, because we don't do that anymore.
No, we really don't. We usually assume safety comes from, like, keeping the child indoors or constantly supervised by a direct parent, not from this interwoven network of neighbors.
Well, that clash is exactly what we are exploring today. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here.
So we are pulling from a really fascinating philosophical dialogue today. It's titled From Discard to Safety.pdf. And the mission for this deep dive is to explore this wildly counterintuitive argument.
It really is wild. Yeah.
Right. The idea is that the rapid exponential rise of artificial intelligence might actually be the exact mechanism that forces humanity back into the physical world.
Yes.
The premise here is that advanced digital technology might ironically save our hands-on skills, our trades, and ultimately our physical communities.
Which totally flips our modern anxieties about AI completely upside down.
Completely.
Usually, we hear that AI is going to push us further into a detached, purely digital existence.
Right, living entirely through screens, like in a sci-fi movie.
Exactly. But this document frames education and community well, not as a transaction of credentials, but as a rite of passage for preparing competent adults.
Right.
It grounds human progress squarely in our physical, tactile reality.
So to understand how AI is supposed to drive this physical revival, the source insists we have to examine the societal blueprint it claims we actually lost.
Right, the baseline we moved away from.
Yeah, the text calls this the civilized society. And it uses some ancient frameworks, specifically referencing Confucius, to define how learning used to work.
Yeah, and under that Confucian model, a teacher wasn't deemed qualified just because they, passed a standardized test.
Or just memorize the set curriculum.
Exactly. They were qualified because they had this specific ability to connect established historical knowledge with immediate physical experience.
We served as a bridge.
Right, a bridge. And the student's role was equally demanding, actually. A student was considered qualified only when they understood their own limitations.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning when they didn't act beyond their age, and they recognized that they had to figure things out through direct trial and error.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the author mentions it would take 3 years of this kind of struggling, attempting to manipulate the physical world before someone was even considered a true student.
Yeah, 3 whole years.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second here. Taking 3 years just to learn how to learn sounds incredibly inefficient.
Oh, by modern standards, absolutely.
Right. Because we are used to, 6-week boot camps or weekend crash courses. Why is that slow burn so necessary, according to the text?
Because it forces a genuine confrontation with the physical properties of the world.
Okay.
You can't fast-track understanding how wood grain splits or, how metal shears.
You just have to feel it.
Exactly. The 3 years is about building a profound, internalized map of physical constraints. The text argues that in this older model, there was no disconnect between the young learner and the adult guiding them. They share the same physical reality and the same stakes.
But then the author outlines what they call the rupture.
Right.
The argument is that this connected, hands-on society didn't just fade away naturally over time, it was dismantled.
Yes, very intentionally dismantled, according to the source.
Yeah. The text points a finger squarely at late 20th century structural shifts. Specifically, it cites the erosion of stay-at-home mothers, a growing cultural disrespect for fathers, and The introduction of teaching by individuals who lacked practical real-world experience.
Right. It's a pretty strong critique of policy changes.
It is, and I want to be super clear to you listening. We are impartially reporting the original author's viewpoint on these political and cultural policies here.
We aren't endorsing them.
Exactly. We're not taking sides or endorsing them, but we are exploring them to understand the author's overarching argument. And that argument is about our shift from a fixing economy to a discard economy.
Right. The author is basically identifying a structural collapse in how generational knowledge was handed down.
Right, when you remove the people whose primary daily function was the maintenance of the home.
And the informal apprenticing of children, yeah.
Right, you lose the actual mechanism for teaching those physical skills.
Exactly.
So whether you agree with that specific social critique or not, the underlying economic argument they make about what happened next is really compelling.
It really is.
Let's dig into the mechanics of that. How does a shift in household structure directly equate to, like, throwing away a broken toaster instead of fixing it?
Well, it comes down to time poverty and the loss of localized expertise.
Time poverty, okay.
Yeah. In a fixing economy, a broken object is an opportunity. If the toaster breaks, a parent or a neighbor who is present in the community has the time to open it up.
Right.
They show the child the broken heating element, and they teach them how to replace it. Generation-spanning knowledge is actively applied.
But when the household structure shifted.
All right, when adults were pushed out of the home and into the wage labor market all day, that time just evaporated.
Because you don't have a free Tuesday afternoon to teach a kid how to solder a wire anymore.
Exactly. You are exhausted from work, so you just buy a new $20 toaster on Amazon to save yourself the headache.
And over a few generations, the physical resilience of the community just atrophies.
Precisely. We abandon that slow, practical knowledge transfer in favor of fast, disconnected credentialing. A broken object is no longer a lesson. It's just trash.
I mean, is modern education basically just a transactional drive-through now?
That's a great way to put it, actually.
Yeah, you pull up, pay your tuition, grab your crash course in something purely theoretical, and drive away. Whereas it used to be more like a generational family heirloom.
Right.
Like a complex pocket watch you had to learn how to dismantle, clean, and reassemble over years.
And the physical result of trading that heirloom for the drive-through window is a society filled with people who don't actually know how to maintain their own existence.
Oh, yeah.
We know how to move data around, sure, but we struggle to build or repair the physical infrastructure that actually houses the servers.
Which brings us to the core irony of this whole text. We've established we are living in this disconnected discard economy.
Yes.
And we have spent the last 30 or 40 years pushing every single child toward a white-collar screen, telling them physical labor is a dead end.
We told them to learn to code, manage digital projects, push paperwork.
Exactly. But now, the screen is talking back. AI is here. And how does this terrifying rise of AI actually fix the problem?
Well, it makes massive chunks of that digital paperwork entirely redundant.
Right.
The author points out that our long experiment with the discard economy has created huge waste heaps and a looming scarcity of raw materials.
We can't just keep buying $20 toasters forever.
Exactly. We simply won't have the luxury of throwing things away anymore because the raw inputs are becoming too expensive or they're just depleted.
Because AI hollows out the white-collar tasks and the physical resources are drying up, it forces us back to the physical world.
Right. The text specifically predicts a massive return to handwork, memorization, handwriting, domestic science.
Which I love. There's this killer quote from the source that captures this perfectly. Quote, "You cannot outsource a leaky pipe to the cloud."
It's so true. No matter how sophisticated a large language model becomes, it cannot manifest a physical hand to reach through your tablet screen and tighten a wrench on a copper pipe.
Not yet, anyway.
Well, yeah. But the robotics required to navigate the unstructured environment of like a methy human kitchen are decades, maybe centuries behind the AI that can write a perfect legal brief.
So I want you listening to think about your own job for a moment. If an AI can realistically handle all of your administrative tasks, your paperwork, your coding, your scheduling, by tomorrow,
Right.
what physical, tangible skills do you actually possess? What can you do with your hands that a server farm cannot replicate? Trades suddenly become premium, non-exportable labor.
Absolutely. The author suggests that human minds will have to become disciplined again, but not to compete with the AI on calculation or data retrieval, because you will lose that race every time.
Yeah, definitely.
The mind becomes disciplined to become a better operator of the AI, taking its vast digital knowledge and applying it to the stubborn, immediate constraints of the real world.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if human value returns to the physical world, fixing leaky pipes, rebuilding motors, we are obviously going to use AI to help us do those things.
Of course.
But if we are completely reliant on these systems to tell us how to fix our critical infrastructure, how do we make sure the AI we use isn't manipulating us?
The source anticipates that exact fear, and it introduces a really brilliant distinction between what it calls global AI and narrow AI.
Okay, break that down for us.
So a narrow AI is a system that is heavily constrained. It serves a specific government's ideology or, a narrow corporate interest.
Like a company town's general store, you can only
Yeah.
buy one brand of overpriced wrench, and they tell you it's the only wrench that works.
That is a great analogy, actually. But the text argues that these narrow controlled AIs will inevitably die out when faced with the demands of the physical world. Because, as the author states, physics is the ultimate firewall.
Physics is the ultimate firewall. I love that. What does that actually mean in practice, though?
Think about the sheer unyielding nature of physical reality. A gear meshes with the next gear, or it doesn't.
Right.
A circuit closes and allows electricity to flow, or the machine just remains dead. The physical world doesn't care about a political narrative.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about a corporation's quarterly earnings. And it doesn't care about a government's propaganda. It is the ultimate incorruptible fact checker.
But let me play devil's advocate again here. A broken physical gear is obvious, sure.
Right.
But what if the AI is diagnosing a complex software issue in, say, a modern tractor?
Okay.
If a state AI offers propaganda or a fake workaround instead of a correct repair manual, couldn't it trick you? Does the author account for that?
They do, by emphasizing why users will naturally abandon the narrow AI.
Mm-hmm.
The text argues that no government policy can gaslight you out of a burned-out motor.
Wow.
If a heavily corporatized AI tries to obscure the true fix, maybe to hide a supply chain failure or to force you into a predatory subscription, the user whose livelihood depends on that tractor is going to seek an alternative.
Well, look elsewhere.
Exactly. They will flock to the open, globally trained AI instead.
Right, because if the narrow AI lies to you, your crop fails. If the global AI gives you the raw, unfiltered schematic, your tractor runs. Useful knowledge just desperately wants to be free.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, when a population is forced by economic necessity to repair its own tools using honest global information, they develop what the author wonderfully calls a built-in bullshit detector.
I love that phrase.
It's so good. People who are grounded in the physical reality of fixing things become notoriously difficult to control. They are tethered to tactile reality, not to carefully curated digital narratives.
The author even calls this shift a political immune response, which is fascinating.
So it really acts as a defense mechanism for civilization. But, this setup introduces a major complication. Well, if we have the physical reality keeping the AI honest, and we have an open global AI providing us with the exact schematics and answers we need on demand, do we even need human teachers anymore?
Right. That is the exact logical next question from the text. If global AI renders mentors obsolete,
And what does the source say?
the source's answer is a resounding no. Quote, no, of course not. Teachers are always willing to learn. AI is learning. Teachers are learning.
Which completely collapses the false binary we have constructed in our culture. The idea that it's just human intuition versus machine calculation.
Right.
It redefines the role of a true teacher. A teacher is no longer expected to be an infallible encyclopedia of facts.
Because the AI is the encyclopedia now.
Exactly. Instead, the text outlines a brand new dynamic. It calls this the trialogue.
The trialogue. Teacher, student, and Silicon.
Yes, it's a three-way, continuous conversation.
Let's break down the mechanics of how this trialogue actually works in a real-world scenario. How does this look?
Okay, so the first step in the trialogue is the student learning by failing.
Okay, so like a teenager trying to rebuild a small engine, they misalign the valves and the engine seizes.
Right, that's the physical struggle, the raw material of learning. Then, step two, the human teacher steps in. But they learn by observing the student's specific failure and looking at the AI's diagnostic suggestions.
Ah, so they refine their guidance in real time.
Exactly. They act as the bridge between the AI's perfect abstract knowledge and the teenager's clumsy physical hands.
And what's the third step?
Step three is the AI learning.
Oh, the AI learns too.
Yes, it ingests the teacher's practical, human corrections, which are grounded in the messy, physical reality, alongside the novel, unexpected questions the student is asking.
So the author paints this really beautiful, modernized visual of this. Remember the child walking to the shop from the intro?
Yes, the 5-year-old.
Right. That child walking to the shop now walks into a community workshop, and they have a tablet in their pocket with access to global intelligence.
But the neighborhood elder is still there.
Yes, the elder is still there. They watch the child's hands, they physically correct their grip on a tool, and simultaneously, that elder learns a brand new diagnostic trick from the machine in the child's pocket.
It shows how the nature of authority has shifted. A teacher's authority is no longer about being an encyclopedia. It's about modeling curiosity alongside silicon and steel.
It is such a deeply hopeful vision of technology, but we need to look at the entire arc the author has laid out for us today.
Right, let's trace it back.
We started with a lost society that understood physical constraints. Then we moved through a structural rupture that created a wasteful discard economy.
Which led to AI forcing us back to physical handwork by making white-collar work redundant.
Exactly. And finally, we arrived at this new trilogue of learning. So what does this all mean? Where does this cycle actually end?
It ends with the dialogue's final, profound revelation regarding safety. In the text, the author's conversation partner summarizes everything by saying, all we need is a safer environment, then everything works.
Which sounds logical to us today.
Right. But the text immediately flips that assumption on its head. The response is, the outcome will be the safer environment.
Wait, safety is the outcome, not the starting point.
Exactly. That is a massive inversion. We usually think of a safe environment as a prerequisite, right? Something we need before everything works.
Yeah, we sanitize the playground, pad the corners, remove all the risk before we let the child play. We view safety as the seed that has to be planted.
But the author argues that safety is the harvest, not the seed. It is the result of a community working through these processes together.
And the text outlines this through 3 specific equations of safety.
Let's go through them.
Okay, the first equation, we teach patiently. And because we take the time to teach a skill patiently, trust grows. That trust is safety.
Right. And the second equation, we fix rather than discard. When you repair your environment instead of throwing it away, interdependence grows.
You have to rely on people.
Exactly. You might need to borrow a neighbor's tool. That reliance on each other is safety.
And the third equation integrates the technology. We learn alongside AI and our elders. Because we do this, humility grows. We realize we are all vulnerable, and that shared vulnerability is safety.
Which brings us flawlessly back to the image of the 5-year-old from the very beginning.
Right.
The author realizes that the child walking to the shop wasn't just running a simple errand. It was a community actively practicing these equations of safety until safety literally became the air they breathed.
We don't wait for safety, we become it. It's just an incredibly powerful call to action.
Truly.
So, to you listening, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought based on this journey today.
Let's hear it.
If safety is not something we wait for an external authority to provide, if it is something we actively build through the difficult tactile act of fixing rather than discarding,
Well,
what is one broken thing in your life right now?
that's a great question.
It could be a physical object gathering dust in your garage. It could be a frayed relationship or, a disconnected tie to your local community. What is one broken thing that you could choose to repair today instead of throwing it away?